We bring you this special radio television broadcast in order to give you the very latest information on an amazing phenomenon.
From the files of Schlock and Awe, welcome to Natural Selection, the home of the DTV Creature Feature. Here are your hosts, Matty Budrewicz and Dave Wain.
Don't you dare touch me! Stand back! No! No!
Hello and welcome to Natural Selection. My name is Matty Budrewicz and I am joined today by my good friend and frequent co-collaborator, Mr. Dave Wain.
Hello.
And I guess we should probably, really explain what the hell we're up to with this whole natural selection thing.
Yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing? Well, we're doing this book, which you may have heard of, which is Schlock and Awe, 1001 Forgotten Films of the 90s Rental Realm. And this book, it kind of deals with DTV films from the 90s. But the thing is, the 90s has an overlap, especially with direct-to-video films. And 2000, 2001, 2002, there's so many films that we'd like to sneak in, but we can't, but we really, really need to draw attention to them. So, this podcast will evolve. We're doing natural selection. It may evolve into an erotic thriller podcast. It may evolve into a cyborg-themed podcast. But at the moment, we're going to chat about creatures.
All the wonderful creature features from the turn of the millennium. Okay? All those wonderful direct-to-video movies that you may have seen late at night on the Sci-Fi Channel. Or you may have stumbled across on, in various rental bargain bins over the years. Okay? So, I think in order to do that, though, in order to really look at the direct-to-video creature feature, we have got to start with the three big boys. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, I want you to picture this.
Okay.
Alright? It's May 1999. Alright?
Mm-hmm.
Anaconda has happened.
Yeah.
Anaconda happened 2 years ago.
Right.
It spent 2 weeks at the top of the US box office.
Mm-hmm.
It brought in triple its $45 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
And it's currently performing incredibly well on cable and in video stores.
Yeah.
Okay? May 99, Lake Placid is just about to happen. Now, it's not going to be quite as successful as Anaconda was, but, it's going to pull in nearly double its budget, and like Anaconda, it's going to do okay on cable and video.
Yeah.
Alright? So, Deep Blue Sea is just about to happen too.
Okay.
Okay? Now, that'll go on to open in third place in US cinemas, and by the end of its theatrical run, it'll have clawed in twice its production costs. And like Anaconda, like Lake Placid, Deep Blue Sea is going to hold its own through TV showings, and it's going to fly off video store shelves. Okay, it's going to become a real cult favourite.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I want you to imagine something else here, Dave. Imagine your new image.
Okay.
Okay? Your new image, the iconic B-movie studio, founded by Avi Lerner, his brother Danny, businessman Trevor Short, and international sales whiz Danny Dimbort.
Yeah.
Okay? So your new image, you've just spent the last 7 years producing low-budget action movies for the straight-to-video market.
Indeed.
Okay? We got stuff like Project Shadow Chaser, Cyborg Cop, okay? All that great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you've just had a little success with a movie that you bankrolled to preemptively cash in on Deep Blue Sea.
Right.
Okay? Shark Attack.
Hey.
So, that little B movie, it's coined it in. Shark Attack has made a fortune in sales at the American film market at the back end of 1998.
Yeah.
And it's now, in May 99, bouncing around Sci-Fi and a bunch of other TV channels in America and the UK. And it's making money hand over fist on video and in the then burgeoning DVD market.
Yeah.
Okay? All the world over. If your new image, where do you go from that? What do you do next? More of the same.
More of the same.
So, as Danny Dimbort would tell Variety just after the 1999 Cannes Film Festival, We've developed a slate of high-concept genre pictures, and the demand has been unbelievable. It's 1999, Dave. May 1999. Your new image, and you have just broke all company records pre-selling spiders, octopus, and crocodile at Cannes.
They've been experimenting on funnel web spiders. Get this, they injected that spider with alien DNA.
I knew it was something like that.
Clip from Spiders there, Gary Jones's awesome arachnophobic picture from 2000, which of course was written by Stephen Brooks, and we have a amazing interview with Stephen Brooks that follows this podcast, where he chats to us for about 20-25 minutes on the genesis of spiders, and also his relationship with Tobe Hooper, and it's really, really fascinating. So when we're done here, don't forget to stay tuned for a little listen to our man Brooks. So, spiders, where do we begin? Where do we even begin with this film?
There is so much to sort of pick apart with this, man. There is so many. To me, spiders tick so many boxes.
Okay. We could sit here and we can just rub our thighs for 15 minutes, because that would do it justice, quite frankly.
I mean, one, it started out as a Tobe Hooper film.
Insane.
I am in awe of Tobe Hooper.
You are.
One of the darkest days in horror history was when he passed away. So he originally came on to Spiders, and he was the one who, as Stephen says, who brought Stephen Brooks along.
Because Brooks and Hooper were pretty tight, weren't they?
Yeah,
I mean, they've been working with each other for a few years on special effects, for Invaders from Mars and
Spontaneous Combustion. And just prior to Spiders, Brooks and Hooper had wrote The Mangler together. So Tobe Hooper originally signs on, and the film apparently was called Cobwebs at this point, which is a very, very cool title, but maybe not one that would suit Spiders as it is now. Okay, so Spiders is very much a 50s style sci-fi horror. It's a big throwback picture, and as much as I would have loved to have seen what Tobe Hooper would have done with it, because I think it would have been a really frightening and great movie. I am glad that he stepped aside and opted to direct Crocodile instead. Yeah, because one, I'm glad Crocodile exists as it is under Hooper's direction. But more than anything, I think Jones is a perfect fit for the material.
It's a good match, isn't it? I mean, we've been into Gary Jones for quite some time. Where did you begin with Gary Jones? Was it with Mosquito or was it with Spiders?
Spiders was the first film of his.
Okay.
I saw, and I became quite enamoured with his work.
Yeah.
He, of course, was part of the same Michigan sort of circle as Sam Raimi, Rob Tapert, Bruce Campbell, Josh Becker.
Yeah.
And Jones, he began with those guys. He began working with Josh Becker on Striker's War, also known as Thou Shall Not Kill, Except. And then he'd work on Evil Dead 2 and Moontrap, which is providing the visual effects for them. And they're really, really good. They're very indicative of his sort of comic book sensibility, which he would go on to imbue Spiders with. So Gary Jones signs on to Spiders and crafts it as this sort of 50s sci-fi horror, very much in the them and tarantula mode. You've got the giant spider thing, the spider that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but you've got all these little nods and winks to other things of the same sort of period, like the space race,
conspiracy theories.
Absolutely, several winks to some glaring conspiracy theories in there, and the whole Spiders in and of itself is very much, as well as being a really good, jumpy, scary comic book creature feature. It's sort of like a little love letter to the I Want to Believe alien sort of generation, where they're very much heavily indebted with what's going on in these secret military areas.
That's right.
And stuff, because the story is, of course, about a female college reporter, who happens to, along with two friends, a photographer and the sort of geeky tech wizard, stumbles onto a military base where the shady government types are experimenting with spiders and alien DNA, which of course creates this giant, monstrous spider by the film's close for the Mother-in-Law Project, which is a great name and something I hope's like a little wink in the direction of Alien, that sort of thing.
I mean, you know, Brooks had a very specific template from what to work to. I mean, New Image had the space station opening that they got for nothing. They had to have the spider car ending. The Japanese buyers dictated that, and Brooks will elaborate on that later. So how do you think it manages to negotiate those templates, those specifics?
I think, you can fire criticism at spiders for not being entirely believable, and not just in the sense that there's a giant frigging spider parading around, but in the way that, you mean a girl from a college newspaper is going to stumble upon there? But it's a good story, and everything works within the reality of the movie. Yeah. You know, the character of Marcy, played by Lana Parrilla, her character is from the outset laid out to be a bit of a conspiracy theorist, a bit of a UFO nut. I don't think it doesn't seem ill-fitting that she knew where this military base was and that she'd track it down. You get the impression that she's been there for some time, and now she's just found a way to sort of angle in to cover it for her college newspaper purposes. Yeah,
she's a great character, isn't she? I mean, she's perfectly cast. I mean, she's got this naivety to her, but also this rabid ambition, whereby she's desperate to uncover something, even at her own cost.
And of course, by the film's end, where you've got her wielding a bazooka at a giant spider that's doing a King Kong up the side of a building in LA. She goes into Sigourney Weaver Asker mode as well, absolutely. And throughout the film's runtime, when she is fighting the various forms of the spider of Mother-in-Law, she's got a nice arc. She's not afraid. She knows that she's in trouble. Yeah. She's going to try and save herself and save her friends.
Let's speak about K&B, because their work on this film is, well, it's standard. I mean, we don't need to go into the various commendations about K&B, because they are an awesome company that have contributed so much to films like this. But I mean, for the budget they have to work with, some of the work they do is fantastic. I mean, didn't they have 4 different stages of spider? They had the mini mechanical, they had the 2-foot, the 6-foot, and then the 30-foot spider. So,
which was just a shell.
Yeah.
Which Robert Kurtzman said in Fangoria at the time that it was just the upper portion of the spider body with 4 legs, so you could shoot over it or you could shoot under it, to give the sense that the spider's attacking. It is they are great. I think the practical effects are excellent. I put a tweet out the other day and it sort of got a little bit of traction, and I said that if spiders had been made in the late 80s as an effects exercise, we would be all over it. It has got some great yucky squelchy stuff in. We've got the guy, the astronaut who survives the crash landing in the rocket that Marcy stumbles across. We've got the great birth of the mother-in-law spider out of his mouth, and to me that gives something like The Hidden a run for its money in terms of gross mouth terror.
But when is this going to change? I mean, when is this going to change? We've got so many people knocking this movie or shrugging it off. We've seen tweets in the last couple of weeks that have, just been the cursory mention and a 1-star review on Letterboxd.
Yeah, what's this shit kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, when is this going to change? I mean, it's 2019. It's Spiders. It's its 20th anniversary next year. I mean, surely. I mean, we're reevaluating it now and giving it the praise and the attention it needs. But when are the general public going to start getting into this kind of thing?
With stuff like that, it all, to me, it always seems to be because of the CGI.
Yeah.
Maybe. You look at Spiders, you look at any of the comments about it on IMDb or any of the reviews, they criticise the CGI. I think unfairly. The CGI was done by Flat Earth Productions, and they did it across the other 2 New Image creature features we're going to talk about.
Was that Scott Coulter and Kevin O'Neill?
Coulter, Neil. and Doug Beswick as well. He was one of the founders.
Right.
But, you know, I don't think... I don't buy into any of that crap about the CGI being bad. No. I think it looks of the period, but I think it looks of the budget, but I think you can accept it as part of the film's reality. Yes, I prefer the practical effects in spiders. I mean, who wouldn't? As we said, the K&B stuff is marvellous. It's got a wonderful plasticky, cartoony quality to it. Yeah. But the CGI, for me, it works. I don't feel pulled out the movie. No. And, you know, even if I did, hokey CGI can be just as charming as bad practical effects, I think. Especially when you look back and think, oh my God, wow, this was 20 years ago. Yeah. We've come such a long way since then. And I've seen mainstream Hollywood movies from the same time. One of the films I revisited for prep for this was Eraser, the Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and we'll find out why when we get on to Crocodile, but there's a bit with some CGI crocodiles in that. And the CGI in that, like, $100 million action blockbuster looks a lot worse than Flat Earth's effects do in here.
Right.
You know? The other thing, I think people have a hard time accepting this creature feature that flirts with a post-Scream sensibility.
I see.
Okay. Not in the sense that Spiders is a post-modern film, although it does tip the hat to like other horror directors. You know, it's got a little nod to John Ayres in there, with the lead, who of course was directing Octopus for New Image at the time. It's got a little nod for Toby Hooper in there with the name of one of the characters. But it's a teen-orientated film. You know, it's basically late teenagers versus shady military types. Yeah. And I think that most films post-Scream, but pre-sort of Saw, the ones that feature teen characters do tend to get a hard rap purely because of the people who didn't like Scream and they sort of lump Spiders in with this. Oh, it's just a dumb teen movie. It's dumb teen horror.
Yeah.
While it does have elements of that, I think, you know, like I said, if this was made in the 80s, we would be championing this film. You know, it's beautifully, beautifully shot. It's got some gorgeous production design. You know, when we've got the spider tear-assing around the military bunker, and it looks like one of those great old army play sets that you get for, like, you know, those little figures of a corps. Yeah. You know, and it's got that great sort of vibe to it. Even, at times, I'd say... bits that remind me a bit of Day of the Dead, you know, with the underground sort of stuff.
Claustrophobic, cold, quite neutrally shaded. Yeah, I know you're coming from there. It is really well done. I mean, you're telling me off microphone about when they got outside. I mean, the desert, the Mojave Desert, for example.
Yeah, you know, there's... What's really great about it as well, it's unashamedly Los Angeles. Yeah. You know, this was... New Image would go on to just farm their productions out to Bulgaria, pretty much in the New Boyona studios over in Bulgaria. Now, Spiders was shot in LA. So, and as such, there's some wonderful... You know, Gary Jones does some wonderfully cinematic things to sort of make us realise that this is a film with great LA production value. You know, there is shots of the, you know, the power cables in the Mojave Desert. Right. Spiders has like an aerial shot of the same area where David Fincher shot Seven. Jeez. You know, and it just adds so much to it, and it gives the film a real sweeping scope, even though the story ends up being a fairly claustrophobic tale of this giant spider running around a military complex, going through all like the elevator shafts and things like that, goring all the army guys. But it eventually explodes out into the streets, out into LA, and it finishes. Where was it? Brooks said this shot. It was on the Staples
the convention centre, was it, in LA? They reshot the ending as well, didn't they? A couple of months after they wrapped. We don't know what the previous ending was, but I think that ending, it suits it perfectly. It's just it's 10-15 minutes of absolute carnage, and it just wraps everything up in the most haywire, hectic,
a classic Creature on the Rampage kind of way.
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. You go look back at the classic creature features. I mean, you referenced King Kong before, but it's that kind of style where it's just that's how creature features should end. Just the most.
To showcase their power, you know, to show that these are a primal force, and they are going to They will not stop. They will take over if we can't fight back with them.
So how do you feel about this?
The film?
The film in general?
I think Spiders is great. I really do. It's like I said, it's a good story. I think it's very well told. It's very economically told, but it doesn't feel cheap. It's got the production design's amazing. The photography, it's got a much bigger feel to it than it ought to, and it's got that wonderful comic book vibe that Gary Jones films tend to have. You know, if you look at the rest of his CV, like Jolly Roger, Massacre at Cutter's Cove, the great pirate slasher movie, it's just, you know, these things could be ripped straight from like a copy of Weird Tales and stuff, you know. That's
it. I mean, for me, I know when Gary was being interviewed and he was sitting down with Boaz, they were chatting mainly about the 50s period of creature features. For me, out of the three that we're going to talk about today, it's the film that's most rooted in the 50s. It's the film that's most rooted in that era. And there are parts of it where you think, you know, you could switch your colour on the TV set down to black and white and it would play pristinely alongside, you know, we referenced them before, Tarantula and Them.
You're listening to Natural Selection, the home of the DTV Creature Feature.
Sir, we've lost control! Captain!
Mayday. This is the SSN Roosevelt. We are down.
Right, so that was just a clip from Octopus that you guys have just heard there. You know, this one's a tough one for me. I love Octopus. I love its director, John Ayres. I think is one of the most consistently interesting and probably one of the best straight-to-video directors and producers out there. But in terms of Spiders, Octopus, Crocodile, it's the weakest of the three. But I don't think you agree with that.
I don't agree with that, and I'm not doing it to be deliberately, you know, contrary, because I'll agree with you. It is the weakest of the three in so many respects, but it's the one I'm drawn to the most because of its flaws, because of its issues.
You like the underdog.
I like the underdog aspect of it. I mean, yeah, this is the one in prepping for this I've probably seen the most because I just keep on getting drawn to it, like not like a car crash that you're driving past on the motorway, because that would be cruel.
Yeah, the film's not a car crash. It's a very well made and very
technically, you know, some of it is
involving
off the scale, but it's just it's a film that fascinates me. And one of the things I'm most fascinated about is, imagine this scenario, right? Pick a friend off the street, or pick a stranger off the street. Who cares?
Right.
Sit them in front of the TV. Yeah. Put Octopus on. Cover the main title card, obviously, and let them watch it, and then pause it on 43 minutes. Yeah, pause it on 43 minutes, and I guarantee they would be completely oblivious as to one, what the title is, and two, what the main thing is about the film. And that's what really attracts me to the film. You're halfway through the picture. One, you haven't seen the creature. Two, you don't really know what the creature is. And three, it's just this insane blend of so many things. You've got East European espionage. You've got naval-based military thriller. That's kind of almost awaiting Michael Dudikoff to show up on stage and kind of, you know, fix the submarine or something. But no, you know, 43 minutes, and then we have Tentacles Ahoy. Which for me, I just like the sheer bloody mindedness of it. I like the sheer sort of you'll wait. If you want to,
it starts as a military thriller, basically. You know, we're in that sort of military espionage.
Military espionage, because we got. I mean, let's briefly run over the story for everybody. Where, you know, we start off with a kind of catch up, a kind of flashback to 1950, blah blah blah.
The Cuban Missile Crisis, yes.
Then we have a Russian nuclear sub, which is sunk by the US off the coast of Cuba. we move forward to present-day Sofia, and we have a terrorist attacking the US Embassy.
Played by the great Ravel Isyanov.
Nicely pronounced.
Yeah, well, I hope it's pronounced that way, and if it isn't, it is now. Of course, but I just feel we need to throw this in there, that Isyanov, for creature feature aficionados, you may recognise him as the geeky spider expert in Jack Shoulder's Arachnid.
Yes.
Yeah, which is another... not a great film, but an interesting one that we will get to, I hope, at some point. But yeah, so Isyanov, terrorist in Sofia. Sorry for interrupting.
That's no problem. So then he's captured by this young, very wet behind the ears CIA agent, played by Jay Harrington, who's accompanied by the brilliant British character actor Jeff Nuttall, who plays Henry Campbell. I mean, Jeff Nuttall, crazy. I mean, going back to the 60s, what's going on with him?
Oh, he's a poet, actor, writer. Key part of the British counterculture movement. He wrote a book called Bomb Culture in 1968, and
Really?
One of the key texts about counterculture London. But yeah, he's sort of Harrington's overweight mentor.
Oh, he does
I guess.
well.
Because Harrington's he's the rookie agent, and he's a good old rookie agent.
So poor old Henry gets stricken down on the line of duty, and I mean, the exposition on this movie is a bit insane, to be honest, for the first 25 minutes.
Yeah.
We're crazy.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on.
Isyanov, some sort of mad bomber that's been terrorising the peaceful world.
And we have Captain Shaw on this sub, who's like been pushed to one side to sort of sit on this sub and do nothing. But the problem is they want to take this terrorist and they want to take it to America, but in the most undercover way possible. So the only way to do this is surely to via submarine.
Stick him in a submarine.
Genius.
Yeah. It takes a while to get going. There is a lot of threads woven into Octopus's narrative, but it's not a boring film by any stretch. No. If you are going into it wanting to see an octopus going tentacle crazy, it's probably going to disappoint you. But if you're going in wanting to be engaged, entertained, it's a great movie. Once they get on that sub, you've got the grizzled sea captain who's pissed off that Harrington's there, like you said. Then you've got Isyanov's terrorist who escapes. You've got Rico Ross, a John Ayres regular, who'd pop up in Project Shadow Chaser and Project Shadow Chaser 3000 for the Octopus director, and of course Aliens. You got him on there as a sub-tech. And to top it all off, then you've got an octopus attack.
Genius. That
just sort of comes out of nowhere, and the film does a from dusk till dawn style shift from espionage into I don't want to say a deep rising sort of, because it's very much its own beast. I think that'd be a lazy comparison on my part, just because they've got tentacles. Like if this is to Deep Rising what Deep Blue Sea is to Jaws. Just because it contains a shark doesn't mean it's Jaws. Just because it contains tentacles doesn't mean it's Deep Rising.
And we haven't even mentioned the cruise ship.
Oh, good God, no, that's it. But and again, that sort of siegs into it with another plot strand, because it turns out the terrorist, Isyanov's terrorist, has got some modern day pirate friends of his to hijack a cruise ship and to track his location across the ocean in this cruise ship.
It's the only way to do it, quite frankly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speedboat.
And you totally know that the cruise ship was thrown in there because that was the poster. So we've got an octopus attacking a cruise liner. How do we get from espionage to a sub to a cruise liner? Classic new image, high concept.
Concept.
So there's three things there that should appear. If you want to see an octopus attacking a sub, this movie's for you. If you want to see it attacking a cruise liner, this movie's for you. And if you like a bit of espionage, Cold War espionage, big thing at the turn of the not Cold War, sorry, but sort of Eastern European military espionage. Big thing at the turn of the millennium, where you had The Last Run, the Anthony Hickox film, and a whole manner of made-for-cable productions like that were popping up on UK video. So Octopus is hitting a lot of bases here.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Does it work? No, it doesn't. I across the board. As a full package, no, it doesn't work. But it has sections in it which go beyond working. That they work so brilliantly, so technically brilliantly, that it's just sublime. I mean, the last 30 minutes for me quite possibly supersedes anything in Spiders and Crocodile.
Wow.
For a block of time.
For an extended chunk.
There are moments in Spiders that are flawless. There are moments in Crocodile that are flawless. But for a one section, strong third section of the film, the final third, I don't think that either Croc or Spiders match that in terms of where that goes.
Yeah.
I know that's a bold claim, and I'm not saying it to be, like I said earlier, some contrary nut job. But yeah, for me, I think that works. But you disagree.
I tend to judge as a creature feature. I can see why it'd be disappointing. Okay, but what I enjoy most about Octopus is that it is a John Ayres movie. I think John Ayres is a genius.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about him.
Well, John Ayres he began as a bread delivery man.
Right.
He was delivering bread around Cardiff when him and his mate Jeff Griffith, I believe his name was, decided to take a punt on the burgeoning video market. So they made a little slasher movie called Lucifer.
Yeah.
Okay, they'd follow that with like Extra 2, a strange sort of British American gangster film called Slow Burn. But John Ayres would really, really find his feet with the Project Shadow Chaser series, which, of course, New Image ended up picking up from the second one, and which is how he became part of the New Image fold.
Yeah.
So John Ayres, his movies can be sort of defined by an eccentricity. They're designed to move. That wonderful Joe Bob Briggs thing, this movie moves, and John Ayres' films very much do that. They shift plot points willy-nilly. If you look at something like From Beyond the Grave, aka Judge and Jury, which is his masterpiece,
without doubt,
it's a very eccentric film. It starts in fifth gear and it goes a million miles an hour, tear-assing through a whole manner of things.
Yeah.
Octopus does something very similar. But what appeals to me about it is it's a very, very large budget John Ayres film. It's the biggest budget of the three creature features from New Image. Yeah, this was about a $4.5 million budget. And it's got a great big feel for it, which I think Ayres does really, really well. When he's allowed to cut loose on something like Conspiracy of Fear, he's got a real great sense of framing and of scope. Having said that though, the stuff in the submarine, that's the money stuff. When the tentacles when the octopus starts attacking the submarine, about 50 minutes in, when those tentacles are going down the submarine's place, that is just it's just wonderfully tight and claustrophobic.
He doesn't overdo it either, really, doesn't he? He doesn't overdo it. They used the effects quite sparsely. I don't think that was financial. I think it's more the suggested rather than in your face and really bombarding you with that sort of kind of octopus theme mayhem. It was very sort of quite reserved in the way that they did that, which I think is more effective.
What the rubber tentacle effects are very cool. They were done by a guy who this reeks of a pseudonym, but I assure you it isn't. His name is Willy Bother. BOTHAA, South African guy.
Super.
And the practical tentacle effects are great. I wish there was more of them, because one of the criticisms that I would lend to Octopus, but it goes a little too much in the favour of CGI. That's not to say the CGI is bad. Again, I think the pockets of CGI that are a little bit ropey, they're certainly charming. There's a definite charm to them. But there's a little bit too much CGI for the octopus, when really Willy Bother's tentacle effects, fantastic. And the miniature work from Mark Harris. You look at that fine the shot of the cruise ship in the night. You got the lightning, and then you got the octopus's tentacles flickering around in the bottom of the frame.
Absolutely
it's just
perfect.
It's wonderful. It's just marvelous stuff.
This is the first script from Michael D. Weiss, isn't it? I mean,
That's correct, yeah.
Quite a quite a history with sequels, hasn't he? I mean, what did he do? US Seals 2? He did a sequel to I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. He did a sequel to Butterfly Effect, Hostel, Scorpion King, Jarhead. He's the sequel guy.
Yeah, he's the straight-to-video sequel guy. From very much a man after our own heart by looking at his credits, you know. But again, Weiss, he built the story from a Bose Davidson treatment, which was built, of course, from the cruise ship poster, which is on the DVD. Weiss thought he'd also have a hand in Crocodile. He wrote the first draft of the Crocodile script, before Jace Anderson and Adam Girash, who also wrote Spiders, or at least had a little bit of input into Spiders. You know, he wrote the first stab at Crocodile before going on there. So he was very much in the new Image world at the time. He's currently a teacher at UCLA now. Yeah. He was former vice president of production at Miramax, and he's now teaching at UCLA's writers program. Wow! So there you go. But in terms of script, he has a lot of things that he needs to wrap up, and I think he does so by the time the film's closed.
I think so.
You know, and I think in terms of, again, it's another good, entertaining and engaging story, and it's well directed. It's just, as a pure creature feature, it's not quite as pure as Spiders or Crocodile for me.
You're listening to Natural Selection, the home of the DTV creature feature.
Get out of the water! It's not
Get us in the water!
Yeah. The joke's been done to death, man.
Guys, come on!
Oh my God!
On to our final New Image creature feature of this debut episode of Natural Selection. And we have Crocodile to look under the microscope at. And I mean, you are
waiting for this one.
You are the Crocodile man. I mean, I think I probably overlooked this film, you know, initially, until, you know, we sort of got to know each other all those many years ago. And since that time, you know, I've rewatched it multiple times, and it's like a new movie to me. So tell me about your history with this film, and tell me about your history with Toby.
I sort of, Crocodiles were sort of film I force on people. You know, I'm very, very aware of its flaws. Yeah, I know what I know what it does well and what it doesn't, but I adore this movie. I first saw it at a very impressionable time, when I was about 15 years old. It was one of the first DVDs I ever got. Right. And I was beginning to get Hooper obsessed, and this, and along with Spontaneous Combustion, Night Terrors and The Mangler, his most maligned movies, those are the ones that, as much as I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think it is those movies that define Tobe Hooper as a filmmaker for me. You know, they represent the style, the humour, and just the sheer unwavering sense of crazy to him. You know, it's Crocodile is a blast, absolute blast. I said earlier, there is no way in hell I would have wanted Tobe Hooper to have directed Spiders as much as I would like to have seen it, because Crocodile wouldn't have happened. And I think Crocodile is a wonderful, wonderful creature feature. It embodies everything that we should cherish about straight-to-video creature features. Okay. It's got the good-looking cast. You know, they're all very easy on the eye for the most part. It's got a tremendous wit and energy about it, and more than anything, as a complete and utter nut for the auteur theory, I think it's just rife with some Hooper obsessions. You know, the film's a total, a stealth remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, this Crocodile is Hooper exploring the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the sort of themes he established in that, in regards to, you know, the working man, the element of campfire tales, which is the quality that he said attracted him to the script to begin with. And you know, and it's just if you're a Tobe Hooper fan, this movie's an absolute feast, for as much as if you are a creature feature nut as well.
I mean, Toby mentioned that when he first got around to making this film, one of the first things he did was sit down with the kids and make them watch a Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that that kind of tonal connection was in the forefront of his mind.
You know, it was made on it's roughly around about the same time as the 25th anniversary of Chainsaw.
That's right.
You know,
yeah.
at the time you had the wonderful David Gregory documentary, the Shocking Truth, getting put together. You know, so to my mind, it was very much at the forefront of Toby's thinking that, you know, this is a time in my career now where I can sort of re-examine my legacy.
Yeah.
You know? You know, some might say I'm going out on a limb, but yeah, he does sort of recapture the same intensity as Chainsaw in Crocodile. You know, like Chainsaw and most of Hooper's work, Crocodile's got that same escalating sense of craziness.
Yeah.
To it. You know, there's also a lot of other similarities between. You know, you've got the teens and the youngsters at the start of Crocodile, as they are in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
True.
They're going away. They're going to have a little break somewhere.
Same thing.
You know, there's also the sense of heat to it as well.
Yeah.
You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is an incredibly sweaty, incredibly muggy film. Crocodile, visually, it's a lot crisper. It's very MTV-like. You know, it looks very much like something that would play on MTV circa 2000. You know, it's like a Kid Rock video at times.
Yeah.
You know, but it still has that warmth to it. It's, you know, it's set at spring. It's got gorgeous blue skies. You know, you feel like you're on holiday watching it. You can feel the heat and the spring break vibe, like just emanating from the screen.
So you got these kids, and they're going away. Where do they go? How do they do it? Where do they end up? What happens?
So spring break, they go to a little lake out. I believe it's supposed to be set in California, I think, but you've got some in a place called Sobeck Lake.
Yeah.
But you've got obviously the sort of redneck crackers that pop up in it as would. But these kids, they're going away, just having a good time, beer, pot, drinking on a houseboat. One of them, obnoxious arsehole called Duncan, and his mate Hubs. They happen across some crocodile eggs.
Yeah.
They decide to put one of these crocodile eggs in the backpack of the token good girl as a bit of a joke. And this crocodile called Flat Dog, this
100-year-old
Nile crocodile that, in a strange sort of callback to Eaten Alive, was brought over by a hotelier.
All right.
And used as a tourist attraction.
You're joking.
And of course, it's got the little nods to Who Was Eaten Alive there, because that, of course, is the entire story of Eaten Alive. Yeah. But this hotelier brought this crocodile back, used it as a tourist attraction, and somehow, I'm not entirely sure how, because it's never gone into it. He decides to form a crocodile cult. You know, that's just, again, well, to me, that's classic Toby. You know, that's classic Hooper. That is giving you a little bit more of the story than you necessarily need, and never going into it, but it's there. It fires the imagination. You know, it gives you a bit to chew on.
I like the contrast between those two cultures. You've got the tanned and the toned spring breakers, you know, but then you've got the very Hooper-esque backwoods populace, really. I mean, led by the brilliant redneck Shirkin. Who's just, I mean, how good is Terrence Evans? He's amazing. Fantastic
performance. Just a wonderful, him, and it's one of the co-writers, Adam Girash, who plays his sidekick Lester. the two gator farmers, which their gator farm, and again in another sort of I'm deconstructing Texas Chainsaw here, is pretty much decorated like Leatherface's living room.
It is, isn't it?
You know, you've got the bones, you've got the taxidermy, and then you've got Shirkin, who is, for all intents and purposes, just a sort of reskinned version of the Cook.
Absolutely.
You know, this sort of blue collar grotesque. You know, and both him and Lester live in this broken down world of nostalgia, and they're sort of like these frontier woodsmen. You know, like a kind of a cross between Sunset Boulevard and Davy Crockett. You know, they're these guys who sort of are longing for the swamp of old. You know, just this Shirkin's this wonderfully embittered gator hunter, and there's this implication that he he hates the aspirational nature of the man who brought this gator back in the first place.
Yeah.
A hatred that was intensified by, as we find out, that Shirkin's my grandpappy and my pappy were killed by this flat dog crocodile. You know, so, and again, that gives more parallels with Chainsaw and even subsequent Hooper films like Eaten Alive and The Mangler and The Funhouse and Poltergeist. You know, this whole idea that these people hate progress. These sort of grotesque characters are against progress, and it's progress that brings them out into the open.
But there's fabric to the creature, isn't it? There's a depth to the creature. There's a backstory to the creature. We don't have this in most creature features.
No.
The creature is just there. You know, it's just there with no history, with nothing. But here we have a crocodile which has 100 years of history, which has people attached to its various, states of being.
Yeah.
Which I think gives the film just another dimension that so few creature features have.
It it links in with what we said about the campfire tale. That's what attracted Hooper to the project. His films are rich in mythology. And the creature, it's a mother's revenge made flesh. Basically, that creature would have left them alone if they hadn't started faffing around with its eggs. Which adds it really adds to a primal element to it. And it sort of, I guess it sort of links in with the whole alien motherhood sort of analogy in some roundabout, more naturalistic way. But no, it's a great creation, the crocodile. I think it's marvelous. It is a little bit hokey, but it's another great K&B creation, like Spiders.
Yeah, we're K&B again, aren't we? And like Spiders, they had their 4 different models. They had the hydraulic croc, the swimming croc, the land croc, and the swallow croc. Brilliant, But every incarnation of that crocodile works perfectly. It's perfect for the specific use that
the
they need.
functionality is fantastic. It was built with. I mentioned earlier that I watched Eraser.
Yeah.
And the CGI gators in that are terrible. But the burst of practical were actually done by K&B, and they harvested the parts from Eraser to make Flat Dog.
Amazing.
in Crocodile. But I think it's. It does look cool. The CGI, again, people will probably go on about it being hokey, but as with Octopus, as with Spiders, it fits within the world of the movie.
Yeah.
The stuff when they shoot the crocodile at night is it looks marvellous, both the CGI and the practical stuff.
Well, how do you think the kids did? Because you've got a situation where the casting director Kathy Henderson Martin met with 2,000 auditionees, which is nuts. I mean, Toby and Frank DeMartini, the producer, they saw a couple of hundred themselves to whittle it down to 7, wasn't it?
Yeah, to look for raw talent. How
did they did?
Personally, I don't think they harnessed the raw talent. I think that one of the weakest aspects of Crocodile is not necessarily the acting, but the fact that if you want to look at it in a conventional, do I like these characters kind of way, for the most part, No, they are quite an unlikable bunch. Yeah. However, if that works in a sense that I want to see them get eaten, I care. I'm going to keep watching because Hooper's having too much fun having his crocodile chow down on these idiots.
Yeah,
and I think that it's not the acting; it's a problem of the scripting.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So we've got Sam Furstenberg directing second unit on this, who we know well and went on to direct.
Of course, go on to direct Spiders 2.
He did. And then we've got Toby's old friend, the editor, Alan Jakubowicz, is it? Who of course made TCM2 with Toby, Night Terrors and Invaders from Mars. So there's a few familiar faces in the background. But generally speaking, I mean, this is Toby on good form, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and you have to remember as well, I mean, I personally, I want to rewrite history here because I don't think Night Terrors and The Mangler are not failures as movies. They are both fantastic horror movies and Toby Hooper films. However, Crocodile was his first feature made in about 5 years when his career had, by this time, Hooper was seen as down and out. He'd been on. If you were being particularly cruel, he's been on one long downhill slide since Poltergeist. And did
he direct Poltergeist?
He absolutely directed Poltergeist. I will fight anyone who dares say otherwise. But You know, in his Canon trilogy had sort of Life Force Invaders from Mars and Texas Chainsaw 2 had derailed him. Spontaneous Combustion had derailed him further. And while this never got a theatrical release, it did for me show that, well, it showed people who counted him down out that he still had a bit of life left in him. He could still have fun. He could still play with convention and stuff. And of course, without Crocodile, which was co-written by Jay Sanderson and Adam Girash, he wouldn't have had his quote-unquote comeback picture, The Toolbox Murders.
Do you think Crocodile was pivotal to that?
Absolutely, because, and I think if you watch Crocodile back to back with The Toolbox Murders, which by the way is excellent, you can see a lot of similarities. There's that similar playfulness. You know, even though it's a nastier film, but there's still a sort of a dark humour and Hooper having fun with the material and just relax. There's a very relaxed approach to them. Yeah, you know, that's not to say his direction isn't tight, because I mean, good God, we said about spiders being jumpy, but Crocodile has some tremendous jump scares.
It does. It really does.
You know, some great stuff.
I mean, things didn't run smoothly. They had a union issue, didn't they? Whereas they were shut down. They were filming in LA. Was it?
Los Angeles.
And they were shut down, and we relocated to Mexico. But you know that's fairly seamlessly done. There's no real jarring sort of.
No, I mean you can't tell, and it's it's got the some sort of vibe. It's just that generic California watering hole type place with a couple of hicks put. I mean, it could be anywhere in the USA. You know it's a spring break place. And you know, I mean, what do you enjoy Crocodile?
I enjoy it immensely. It grows on me every time I watch it, to be honest. I wouldn't say I discounted the first time I saw it, but you know, with sort of your influence, it has been engraved, because you do tend to approach things with not with the idea of what you've read about them critically, but it's always in the back of your mind that, you know, you can discount something fairly easily. It's so much harder to reverse what people have already said and swim against the tide when there's an active campaign to sort of, you know, try and forget about films like this, especially Tobe Hooper, because there's so many people out there that are just trying to discount every one of his films, since Poltergeist, as you say. So yeah, it's really grown on me, to be honest. But I think it forms a perfect trilogy with the Girash Anderson movies. Really, you know, Mortuary as well.
Yeah, they all have. Crocodile encapsulates a sense of fun, very well made. And it gives you what you want. You want to see people get eaten, there you go. You want to have some jumps, there you go. It's just a quality direct-to-video creature feature. You can't get much simpler than that.
So when people press stop and they go home, or they go back out of the car, or they go out of the office, and they think, right, let me see some of these creature features, where'd you begin? Where are you going to begin? Crocodile?
I'd go Crocodile first off. Yeah, I would go Crocodile, because if you can get past the annoying teenagers in that, you can get into anything else. Yeah. I would always put Octopus in the middle.
Would you?
You know, yeah. It's like the Empire Strikes Back kind of thing. It's a little bit more languid. It's still very over the top and silly at times, but it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit more serious, you know, with the espionage stuff in there and the terrorism. And then I'd finish on Spiders, because it is just wonderful seeing what's she called again? Lana Pirelli. Yeah. Lana Pirelli blasting a bazooka at a Lana Parrilla, sorry. But yeah, I would finish with that, because it ends with her blasting a bazooka at a giant spider on top of a building.
That's a great order, to be honest, and we may disagree on, you know, various qualities of these movies, but yeah, I think that'd be a good approach to take. And we're done, so we'll see you next time on Natural Selection.
Yeah, see you later.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to check out the Schlock and Awe page on Instagram, while you're welcome to stalk Matty and Dave on Twitter. See you next time on Natural Selection.
So, as promised, here's our chat with the extremely affable Stephen David Brooks. FX wizard to begin with, he of course went on to write a sublime adaptation of Stephen King's The Mangler before penning that new image creature feature of the highest order, Spiders. We started off by asking Stephen about his early days in Hollywood and how his relationship with the iconic Tobe Hooper came about.
Well, I mean, my day job when I was an amateur screenwriter and before I was a director was in visual effects. I fell into visual effects.
Yeah.
And started working at a company called Apogee in Van Nuys, California, which was, the facility was the original ILM when they did Star Wars. They still had like Luke's X-Wing fighter model in the lobby, and it was that kind of place.
Right.
And I worked on some Tobe Hooper movies, but never actually met him. I saw him around.
Yeah.
And I worked my way up quickly to visual effects supervisor, and John Dykstra, the visual effects supervisor for Star Wars and so on, said, Tobe needs someone who can handle some fire effects. Go up and meet him. So first time I ever face-to-face met Tobe was at his house. I'd come back from Canada where I'd worked on some visual effects and shot a bunch of explosions and fires, so I had a VHS tape of fire, a fire reel. So I went up and I met Tobe for the first time.
Yeah.
And sitting in his Beverly Hills house, there's the one of the masks from one of the leather face masks from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 on a little mannequin sitting behind him.
Wow.
Right? So Leatherface is watching you as Toby's talking to him. and he looked at the reel and, he goes, oh, that's far out, man. And we seemed to hit it off immediately. Toby and I hit it off immediately. It's one of those things where, you feel like you've already known somebody, even though we had never met. So he hired me. I was the effects supervisor and the second unit director. He let me direct second unit with the actual actors, Brad Dourif and Melinda Dillon. And that started the mentorship. And it was a couple years after that, when I was working at Disney. I just finished Dick Tracy, I think, for Wilder Napalm as visual effects supervisor. And I get a call on the stage, it's Tobe.
Yeah.
And he says, have you ever written horror? And I said yes, even though I had not. Although he knew I was a writer, because I'd given him scripts. I don't know if he ever read them. And he goes, well, I have the rights to this Stephen King short story called The Mangler, and I want you to pick up a copy of Night Shift, read it, come up and tell me how you would adapt it. Now, I'd never written horror, never adapted anything. Didn't know at the time that Stephen King had script approval.
Right.
I bought Night Shift, drove up to Beverly Hills, parked outside of Toby's house, and sat there reading this 6-page short story, whatever it was, really short story, all told in flashback, no third act. And I'm going, I have no idea how to adapt this. And I went in, Toby and I chatted, once again with Leatherface, Terry Addis, almost a repeat of that scene. And I said something that excited him. I just sort of said something, and all the magical moments in my career, after I did them, I don't remember that I did them. It's weird. It's like it just came some divine inspiration. So anyway, he said, oh man, far out. I'll call Steve King and call you in the morning. So 10 a.m. the next morning, I get a call. And Toby calling at 10 a.m. means he was up all night, because Toby cannot wake up early. He goes, Stephen King loved your pitch. We're going to pay you $1,500. You have 10 days to write the script. Because what I didn't know is that Stephen King had script approval. They already had the money in South Africa. They'd already attached Robert Englund to the role of Robert Gardley, who was only mentioned in the short story. So I had to create a character for Robert. And I had 10 days to write a draft. It almost killed me. Honestly, it wasn't a very good draft, but Stephen King loved it. And his stamp of approval meant we made the movie. 44 drafts later, we were making The Mangler. So because of my relationship with Tobe, after The Mangler, we had pitched a bunch of things, and then that leads into Spiders. Do you want me to go straight into that, or do you want to ask me?
Let's rewind. Let's rewind a couple of years to Spontaneous Combustion. I mean,
I forgot to mention the name of the movie, right? Spontaneous Combustion, right?
Yeah, I write with another guy, and it's one of our favorite Tobe movies, but it was a very troubled production, wasn't it? I mean, it was plagued by producer interference. What happened over that?
Interference as in, you mean during the course of the production?
Yeah.
Well, it was a low-budget movie. By the way, just a little side note, I'm actually an actor in it. Very bad actor. I'm the orderly. When Brad Dourif comes into the hospital, And I'm also the cop that shoots after Brad, and he drives away in that old Studebaker or whatever. That's me with gray hair. My acting debut.
Ah, impressive.
Anyway, it was like every movie, it's so funny. Every movie is the same.
Yeah.
You have the director who wants the moon, and you have producers who want to limit the spending. And as a visual effects supervisor, I was always sandwiched between the two.
Yeah.
Toby would want a shot, and then the producers would say, we're not paying for that shot. Well, Toby would shoot a plate and cut it into the movie. And this is not just Toby, it's a common tactic of directors. You shoot a plate, you put it in the movie, and then you show it to the producers, and they go, well, that shot doesn't work, there are no effects. And Toby goes, well, you have to pay for the effects. So you force the producers to ante up more money to finish the effects because the shot's cut into the movie.
I see.
So it was really just that kind of thing. There was no personal animosity and so on. And it was an odd group of producers. There was this lawyer named Henry Bushkin, who was Johnny Carson's lawyer. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Johnny Carson. American chat show host, famous chat show host.
Yeah.
And he'd always joked about his lawyer, Henry Bushkin. So Henry was one of the producers, and the other producer was Arthur Sarkisian, who went on to produce what were those movies with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker?
Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. And he became quite a big producer. I think this was his first movie as a producer. And I never was quite sure who found the money and where that came from. But Arthur and Henry were also kind of not necessarily in sync on things, Henry would say one thing to me, and Arthur would say something else. And Toby, of course, would say something else. I was sort of always navigating that. But in terms of difficulty and conflict and stuff, it was all just normal movie making. There was nothing out of the ordinary that,
Yeah, because there was a rumor. There was a rumor that the film got taken out of Toby's hands towards the end.
Not that I recall.
No.
I know we did go back. We went back and reshot the ending. The ending with Brad Dourif sort of melting and going into the ground and all that.
Yeah.
That was not the original ending. I don't remember what the original ending was, but that was like 3-4 months later after wrapping. We went back and shot for a night. Shot the ending. No, I don't recall it being taken out of his hands because they wouldn't have reshot his ending.
Sure.
I mean, they may have gone in and tweaked the edit, but I don't. But it wasn't one of these things where it was completely taken away and they locked him out of the edit. No. Nothing like that. He was in it until the end.
Okay, but what was his opinion on the finished film? Was it something he ever talked about? Was it something he ever considered to be good or not so good, or a stain on his CV or anything? Was he quite proud of it?
Yeah, he liked everything he did, and I mean, the truth is, I could say this from personal experience as well, is when you work on something, you never know if it's good.
No.
I'm sure David Lean, to his dying day, wondered whether or not Lawrence of Arabia was any good. Because you get so close to it that you can't judge anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like a child where you love the child no matter what. Even if other people say, oh, we don't like your child very much, but you do because you created it. So, no, but Toby was the kind of guy who would make a film, and then that would be it, and then he'd move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And sort of watching them over and over again and so on. But no, he was very proud of it, and he was proud of what we did for a really low budget. I don't remember what the budget was, but it was very, very low.
Yeah. Okay, so let's fast forward. So The Mangler is done, and you're working with Toby again, and of course, Spiders began as a Toby project, didn't it? So how did that develop?
Yes. So Toby and I had been writing things together and going around town and pitching. We had the same agent, and then one day he called up and said, let's go meet Boaz Davidson at New Image. I go, okay. I mean, I knew who Boaz was. I'd never met him. And we go in, and Boaz starts talking about a giant spider movie that Toby was going to direct. And the meeting ended. And I'm used to Hollywood meetings where you have a meeting, and then you never hear from the person again.
Yeah.
Because in Hollywood have meetings. But New Image is not like that. They don't waste any time. Most efficient filmmaking organization I've ever experienced. So, like, 2 days later, Boaz calls. He goes, are we making a deal? Are we writing the movie? I go, oh, well, I didn't know we're doing it. He goes, no, we're doing it. I go, okay. He goes, so called my agent, made a deal. I went in to meet with him. And at this point, it's like I'm remembering like a week after that initial meeting, Toby had called to say, you go ahead and write Spiders. I'm going to direct Crocodile.
Yeah.
Which was called Fat Dog at the moment, because that script was already written. It was really far along. And New Image did not write a script and then wait 6 months to shoot. They'd write it before the ink was dry. They'd start shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They were, as Boaz would say, they were a factory. So Toby went ahead and was directing shooting Crocodile while I was writing Spiders. So the genesis of Spiders was it's a tremendous lesson in how New Image works. I mean, it's very much in the mold of what Canon Films did, and definitely in the mold of what a lot of the indie producers from the 60s and 70s did. American International Pictures, of course, Roger Corman.
Yeah.
And what they would do is, so Boaz sat down and goes, okay, movie about giant spiders. And he shows me the poster, a mock-up poster, of a spider ripping the roof off a car on the 405 freeway, which is a big freeway in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
He goes, it has to end with a spider eating a car because our Japanese buyer wanted a spider to eat a car. Okay. So he goes, now, let's start it in some underground caves because we have a cave set in Bulgaria.
Right.
Okay. So it had to start in caves, end up on the 405 freeway. So those are the parameters. So I started working on an outline. He goes, look, just take 2-3 days, write something, send it to me, we'll meet, and we'll keep meeting. Because Boaz was very intimately involved in the story. Because, he was a director and a writer, and he also knows the sales end, so he's getting the information for what the salespeople need. So anyway, we have our second meeting. He reads the outline, goes, okay, this is a good start. We go from the caves of Peru, I think it was, to a university students in California to end up on the 405 freeway. So the second meeting, Trevor Short, who was one of the executives of New Image, comes in, and this is like 1996, 97, something there, comes in with a VHS tape, puts it in the machine, turns on the TV, and it's space shuttle footage. And he goes, this is HD space shuttle footage. HD was a big deal then, right?
Yeah.
TV wasn't HD yet, really. And he goes, HD space shuttle footage. And Trevor goes, we can get this for free. It's just shots of astronauts floating and all sorts of space shots. And Boaz looks at me and goes, can we start in space, then go to the caves, then end up on the 405 freeway? Now, I had never written, I only did one work for hire, which was The Mangler, but that was based on a short story. This is sort of not based on anything other than sales and what's available. So, Trevor left the room and Boaz closed the door, and he was very honest. But he goes, my friend, we are not a movie company. We are a sales company. We sell a movie based on a poster. We get pre-sales money. It tells us how much we can spend. We then make a movie to make a trailer and a new poster. We sell the trailer and the poster, and by the time anybody sees the movie, it's too late.
Amazing.
So then I got it, right? So that's why the movie starts in space. And I don't even remember, did we go to the caves or did we lose the caves at some point? I don't remember now.
No, they were.
It starts in space, it goes to the university. For the long time since I've seen it. Are the caves still in there?
No.
Okay, that's all gone. Right, so we started in space, go to the university, and then end up on the freeway. Right? Okay. That was it. Plus, I think they had destroyed the sets, the cave sets anyway, to make room for something else, so there was no point writing for caves because they didn't have cave sets anymore. So, So that was the genesis of it. And then about 2 drafts in, Toby brought in Gary Jones.
Yeah.
Who had directed. He was a makeup effects guy. He had directed the second unit, and then first he did on Xena Warrior Princess. He's from Michigan, so he knew Rob Tapert and Sam Raimi from Michigan. And Gary went ahead and directed Mosquito, which was a micro-budget movie. I don't know if he put it on credit cards or got some investors, but using his makeup effect skills and so on. And because he did a creature movie, Mosquito, women thought, well, perfect for spiders. He handles creatures.
To what degree did his involvement change things?
Quite a bit, actually. So Gary, Boaz was busy doing. They were making like a bunch of creature movies at once.
Yeah.
So Boaz said, "We're going to get you an office and it's at this small studio in Hollywood. I forget the name of it, but a place like where Buster Keaton used to work.
Right.
Really tiny studio, and Gary and I went in there every day for several weeks. Just locked ourselves in a room and started reworking the script. And we eventually got a script that Gary was happy with, and then we went through the process. They eventually brought in other writers, which was a whole political thing that happened. But it was still essentially my script. And then they went ahead and started shooting.
Yeah, because sorry. Yeah. Why were the other writers brought in? Because wasn't it Jace and Adam?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I know Boaz brought them in to rewrite Crocodile. They rewrote a bunch of the movies, and I don't know why. At the time, that's the first time that had ever happened to me. I took it personal.
Yeah, yeah.
But years later, Gary goes, it wasn't personal. It was a political move, and it had nothing to do with you. And I should have known that because 2 weeks I would go to set when Gary was shooting Spiders, which shot in L.A., and 2 weeks in, Boaz goes, I want to talk to you about Spiders 2.
Right.
Oh, okay. And we started writing Spiders 2 while Spiders 1 was being shot.
Oh, really?
So I realized, okay, it wasn't personal. It was just some other reason,
Because
writers are dispensable in Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, you were on the set obviously because you've got a cameo as a police officer. So what was the vibe on set like? What kind of shoot was it?
Oh, you mean Spiders on Spiders?
Yeah.
Well, it was awesome. They reshot the ending.
Right.
It did not end at the LA Convention Center with all the police and the helicopter and all that stuff. I don't remember what the original ending was. But they went ahead and reshot that. And Gary said, "Do you want to be a cop?" Yeah, sure. I did it in spontaneous combustion. So why not? Typecast me. So yes, that was me, the lead cop. Stand and hold fast, or whatever I say if you're shooting. Yeah, that was me again.
But was that your only time on set?
Yeah. I hung out on set while they were shooting. Until Boaz had me writing Spiders too, and I did a little bit of. We wrote a couple of scenes on set that weren't working. So that was months later that we reshot the ending.
Right, I see. Now, obviously, with you stating how New Image were very much a sales company, I don't suppose that Spiders was ever intended to play theatrically.
Well, it did. I believe it had a theatrical run in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Because they were mostly a straight-to-video company. Even though they shot on film but they were still never intended these things because there's risk involved. To be in theaters, you have to pay for advertising and promotion, and it wasn't their business model. I mean, if they spent, let's say, $1 million on a movie, and they walked away with $1,500,000, they were happy.
Yeah.
It was the Roger Corman school of just don't lose money, make a little bit of money, make a bunch of movies, and you're in good shape.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of business did it do? Were you ever privy to that?
I have no idea.
No, but presumably, with regard to pre-sales, it was certainly enough for a sequel, and one that, you know...
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, they were already dealing with the sequel while they were shooting the original because they had sales. And that one was funny. The first meeting with Boaz was, can it start on a ship? Because we have a ship set. I said, sure. It was actually a submarine set, but they reworked it to make it look like a ship on the inside. So
that's crazy. I mean, how did the variables change between Spiders 1 and Spiders 2? Was there less money? Was there more restrictions? There's a lot more CGI, isn't there, in the second film?
Yes, there was a lot more, and it was also different that it was Sam Firstenberg came in to direct.
Yeah.
Who is still a friend. I love him. He's the best storyteller in the world. And because we were in Bulgaria, when we were here, Boaz was hands-on, on set quite often. And in Bulgaria, Boaz didn't show up. It was Danny Lerner, Avi Lerner's brother, who was there handling the day-to-day production and supervising.
Yeah, I see.
A sad story that I found out about a month ago that Stephanie Nisnik, who played the lead in Spiders 2, passed away.
Oh, did she?
Suddenly.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, I sort of lost touch with her. I think she stopped acting, and I think she wanted to sort of distance herself from show business. And I still don't know what happened. She was only 52, you know.
Right.
But she was a sweetheart.
Well, that is a shame. That is a shame.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, throughout your experience, obviously you had a number of years dealing with New Image. What were they like to work with? You've detailed some aspects, but overall, was it a pleasant experience, or was it very intense due to the speedy nature of their production?
Well, it's intense, but that didn't bother me. I mean, what I liked about New Image is that you knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
They were not duplicitous in any sense of the word. When they made a deal, the way they made a deal is they say, here's your deal. You just sign it. There's no negotiation.
Yeah.
And it was a low budget deal, but they weren't insultingly low. It was fair compensation for the budget that they were using. And for Spiders 2, the first meeting with Danny Lerner in Bulgaria was, you have 6 weeks to shoot. If you don't shoot the entire script, you're not going to shoot the entire script. That's it. Period. Right. And I know there were a lot of people who didn't like Danny because of that. I actually appreciated that because Sam Firstenberg and I knew exactly where we stood. We had to shoot this on schedule, and I respect the money. Right? It's their money. It's not my money. Yeah. If we go over schedule, they foot the bill, not me. Right? But, so I actually liked that element. I liked they set the parameters, but then you could be as creative as you wanted within those parameters.
Of course.
They didn't call you with notes about dailies and things like that. You could, as long as you didn't go over budget, over schedule, you could essentially, and you followed the script, of course. You couldn't go off the script, but you could be creative within those parameters. I actually liked that quite a bit. I actually loved working with New Image.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot of freedom, isn't it? I mean, from what you detailed before on the Mangler, for example, I mean, when you consider the kind of meddling and day-to-day interaction you're having there with the producers to practically free reign with New Image, it's quite a stark contrast, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, because, the Mangler was a whole different situation.
So do you ever catch Spiders or its sequel on TV late at night? And do you channel hop through it, or do you carry on watching it?
No. If it happens to be on, I'll watch it. I mean, Invaders from Mars came on the other day, and I started watching it because I work on the ray guns visual effects part of that. Even though I hadn't met Tony yet. I do, because it's I look at it and go, I don't remember that. The way filmmakers are is you go into a movie thinking it's going to be the greatest movie ever. When you finish it, you think it's the worst movie ever made. No matter what. Yeah. It's just because you're so close to it, or whatever. And the truth is, all filmmakers go into making a film thinking this is going to be the greatest film ever. And when they're finished, particularly the first edit, when there's no sound effects and it's all kind of dead, it's really depressing. Everybody walks out of the first edit suicidal. Then you start reworking it and get it to work, but even when you go to the first screening, the premiere and so on, you still have this sense that you made the worst movie ever made. Because you're so close to it, all you do is go, oh, I wish we'd done that. Oh, why did we do that? Oh, that little bit. Things that no one else notices, right?
Yeah.
But the filmmakers do. And then years later, it's always nice to see something years later. I mean, if Spiders pops up on TV and I watch it and go, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good, and because the distance and having worked on other things in the meantime means you can look at it with fresh eyes, more like an audience member as opposed to part of the filmmaking team.
Huge thank you to Stephen David Brooks there for taking the time out to have a chat with us. If you want to see what Stephen has been up to recently, then give Flytrap a spin, his most recent film. It's available to stream on Amazon Prime. That's all for now, but if you'd like to reach out to us on social media, then head over to our Schlock and Awe page on Instagram, and why not harass us on Twitter too? You can find us at Matty Budrewicz or at The Dave Wain.
You're listening to Natural Selection, the home of the DTV Creature Feature.